Hi everybody, how's it going? Clint back here today, making another video. Just thought I'd show you what I've been riding lately. I picked this up about a year ago, new. It's a 2014 Yamaha FZ-1. I got it, normally I don't buy new, I prefer to get used, you know, save the money, let somebody else take the depreciation hit, but this was actually selling new for cheaper than some of the used ones that were around, so I picked it up. Lucked out. So this has the 998cc motor right off of the R1, the Yamaha R1 race bike. That's sort of a good thing and a bad thing. It's really a super bike motor. They say they've retuned it. It's got different cams on it. They've tuned it for more torque, more mid-range usability, but it still has that top-end hit just like an R1 does. There's not gobs of torque from the bottom, but it's a leader bike. So if you hadn't ridden a leader bike before, you'd think it was torquey as heck. But I know there's more torquey ones out there on the bottom. So it's got the swing arm right off the R1 right here. This stock exhaust, of course, I like it better than the previous versions. A couple years ago it had silver caps on the ends and it just sort of looked weird. It was drawing attention to itself, like, hey, I'm a stock exhaust. But it blends in nicely now, I think. The matte black finish. Pearl white's my favorite color, of course, so I'm a sucker for pearl white. My car's pearl white, bike's pearl white. It's a big tank. Here's what the dash looks like. Analog tack, which I like. Digital speedo. There we go. It tells temperature, fuel level, clock, and a couple trip meters. It doesn't have a gear indicator. I'd add a gear indicator if I was designing it. Drag bar, handlebar here. The front fork, so it's pretty straight, it's pretty upright. I wanted a better riding position because I've got 2 herniated discs in my back, and it can be pretty painful sometimes being way leaned over. I added these brake levers. I don't know if you saw my video on the when I put these on the SV650 Suzuki, but I liked them so much that I just got them right away. They were 30 bucks, and it added adjustability. All of a sudden we got all this traffic. Okay, the front fork. You know, everybody's like, at this price point, everybody's buying that FZ-1, and from Yamaha. It's lighter weight than this, but it's 115 horsepower. You know, it's a torquey motor. Everybody says how torquey it is, and I watched all the videos on it. I know it is, but it's 115 horsepower. This is 150 at the crank. At the rear wheel, it's more like 132. But with a couple mods, like a pipe, a slip-on muffler, air filter, power commander, and a dyno tune, you're looking at 150 at the rear wheel, and it's more like 170 at the crank, like what the original R1 motor had. So it's pretty restricted from the factory. If you rode it, you wouldn't think it was restricted, but it's interesting to note that there's a lot more power to be had for not too much money. You know, around $1,000 or so. The front forks are adjustable. We've got preload, compression on one leg, and rebound on the other leg. So that's the most adjustability I've ever had on a bike. So I'm happy for that. I've always had to swap springs out, and with any bike I get, I have to get stiffer springs, and because I'm over 200 pounds, and just to keep the front end from bottoming out. This came really well set up, actually, so no springs needed. The rear shock, I do wish the rear, it's up under there. A little dark on this side. Let's see. Yeah, it's hard to see in there. Anyway, it's got rebound and preload only. I do wish it had compression dampening, but it doesn't. So it's got this, of course, big thing hanging off the back. I do have the fender eliminator kit. I just have to put it on. And I've got the air filter, and I plan on putting a pipe on, probably a Yoshimura, because it's one of the quieter aftermarket pipes. I'm not trying to wake up the neighborhood, you know, I'm not trying to draw too much attention to myself. Just want to save the weight, because that thing is heavy. I guess you pull that thing off, it's like 20 pounds, and then minus the one that you put on, you're saving like 12 pounds. That's kind of huge. It's got a nice big passenger seat, some nice grab handles. One thing I will note, see the sharp angle of this corner right here? Got to be real careful getting on it, otherwise you take one of those to the shin and you'll never do it again. You know, when you're swinging your leg over the bike, I mean, you see that angle on that handle? It's kind of a sharp edge. What else can I tell you? Drag bars. It's a fun bike. It's got, you know, it spools up just fine. I mean, it's quicker to, you know, 5,000 RPM than any 600 I've rode, but it really comes into its own at about 8,000 RPM. It's like afterburners came on, and you know, like in Spaceballs when they hit ludicrous speed and all the stars go streaking by. It kind of feels like that. It's kind of ridiculous. All right, well, that's it. Nice big brakes, 320 millimeters, dual brakes, inverted 43 millimeter fork. Wet weight on this is 487 pounds with a full tank of gas, so not too bad. You know, everybody's like, oh yeah, big bike, oh, it's, you know, hard to handle big bike. It's so light feeling. There's nothing heavy about it. Not just when you're rolling like a touring bike. It just feels light when you get on it. It's balanced well. So there it is. Reasonable wind protection from the stock screen. I don't know if I'll get another one. It doesn't, you know, I've ridden naked bikes before and I'm totally fine with it. Wind doesn't bother me that much. So there it is. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.